Hi, welcome to I Love the Library. I'm Mary Haney, Director of the Detroit Lakes Public Library, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today Part 3 of Raina Zimma's interview with author Julie Klassen. Please enjoy.
You've got a new series. You've kind of always written individual novels, and so you're in your second book of your series.
Yeah.
And The Ladies of Ivy Cottage, which I have right here.
Ah.
Yes.
Yes.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit about this series?
I would love to, because as you mentioned, I have my first 10 books were all standalone, which you can read them in any order, which I think is great. But I've always wanted to write a series because personally, I love British dramas that are like Cranford, Lark Rise to Candleford. I don't know if a lot of people know Downton Abbey. That's probably the most famous British series where you kind of get to know the family. You have the upstairs and the downstairs. You've got different kinds of people, and you get to know them deeply and many different people. And I've always wanted to write a series and set in a English village, and so that's what I'm doing now. And so the first 2 books are out, and that's the situation is very much, as I mentioned, where you've got women who are kind of finding themselves in difficult situations. One of them is a widow, another one is a spinster. If you weren't married by the age of 27 or 28, you were in trouble. But what I love about writing the series is that it has, all my novels have, it has romance, it has family drama, a little mystery, but it really has something special, which are the female friends, the friends kind of all pulling together in this village and helping each other out when troubles arise. So I have really enjoyed writing that and staying with these characters for 3 books, a little longer than my usual, and staying in the village for the 3 books as well. So first 2 books are already out, as you mentioned. This is book 2, and then I've already completed the edits for book 3. So my editor has book 3, and she loves it. It's always a relief when the new book goes over well. So she's doing the final edits on book 3, which is called The Bride of Ivy Green, which comes out in December.
Perfect. And so, do you think you will continue going down the series path, or go back to standalone, or?
I really enjoyed writing the series, but it was a challenge, which I like to do something different. But I have a kind of a burning idea for a mystery I want to write, which I think would be a standalone. So that's when I'm going to take a little break and write a standalone, and then kind of see from there what I might do next. But I'm not saying I would never do it again, but I really do in general like standalones where you have everything in one cassette, one cover, you can go and read it all. So at least my next book will be a standalone.
Okay. And I'm going to kind of jump back to what we talked about, the process of a book.
Okay.
How many people does it take to get a book to this process?
You have really good questions, Raina, because I don't think a lot of people realize that. Because in one sense, writing is a very solitary business. I spend hours and hours by myself at a computer writing. But there is a lot more to it, because I have, when I finally get a very, very early draft that I feel is finally, I've read it a couple times, it's finally sort of good enough for someone to see, that I have a first reader who's a good friend of mine, a very well-read person, who reads it and gives me feedback. And then I have, of course, my publishing house has not one editor for me, but they have a couple of different people who work on my books and read them and give me feedback and make ask for suggestions, and ask for revisions and changes. And so then I'm given the book back and have time to revise it and work on it again. And then because I am not living in England 200 years ago, there's a whole lot of stuff I don't know, and I find out as much as I can by researching with the internet and old books, and of course going to England when I can. But I found that it's really helpful to find experts who already know this era or England. So I've had people read the books who live in England. I have for this innkeeping series, because it has so much horse material, so many carriages and harnesses and different kinds of stagecoach. I had a woman who lives in England who manages a large horse stables read the books, because I didn't really want to make it a big mess of it. So she did that. So I find it's helpful to have an expert or two read them for various topics along the way. So it is a lot of people who are involved by the time I'm done writing the first draft until it finally comes out. 10 people probably at least have read it and given suggestions or helped me before it's a final draft.
Interesting. And about how long of a time period is that?
I would say it's about 8 months or thereabouts. So, I work on the book and revisions and rewrites for probably about 8 months and maybe 9. And then the editors have, the last few months to do the editing and the polishing and proofing and all of that, because then I'm on a 1-a-year cycle. And it's plenty busy for me. I know a lot of authors write 2 or more a year, but for now, one
I'd
a year.
really like you to start getting on the 2 or 3
to be
a
a
year.
little bit thinner, I think, if I was going to do
It's
it.
a long time to wait for that next book, I'll tell you.
Oh, 6 months now.
Wasn't that wonderful? Isn't Raina a great interviewer? That brings to an end part 3 of her interview with author Julie Klassen. And next up, we'll have part 4 coming up.